feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer!
I don't care what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the
Call
Cowboys.
this college rule!
Welcome back, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. Dom and Chris here. And before we begin, as always, make sure you like, follow, share, and subscribe, and comment on all our videos here on all our different platforms for the Sports Experience Podcast. In addition, we are in the middle of a block.
That's
Chris, we are nearing the end of our block now.
Only a couple more blocks to go before we build this wall.
Yeah, we're going to build a wall.
Calm down. Calm down. Getting it early. This one was actually pretty good. An old school game. I saw highlights on it. We're talking about the 62 AFL Championship. Taking place in Texas.
As it should.
As it should.
As it should.
Dallas versus Houston. Like we were saying earlier, we kept getting confused because it is the Dallas Texans versus the Houston Oilers. And I told Dom, I was just like, dude, I had to stop putting Texans versus Oilers. I had to just put Dallas versus Houston. And I was like, I'm not getting confused by that.
Oh, my God. This is actually the last game the Dallas Texans ever played.
Yes.
As the Dallas Texans,
Yep.
Interestingly enough, we'll probably get into why. But so it's actually very interesting. They're the two best teams in the AFL this year.
Yep. 11-3, respectively.
The Oilers, the Houston Oilers, are at the time the two-time defending champions
Yep.
of the AFL. And I kind of wanted to do this game for this type of block because, as we discussed in our previous episode on the greatest game ever played, the 58 NFL Championship game, there were a couple of rich Texas men who said, I want to be in the NFL, but the NFL said no.
And they said, you know what? We're from Texas. We're going to do it anyway.
We're just a couple old man rustling and a rambling, and now you're just talking like Foghorn Leghorn, Charlie. So it's Bud Adams, owner of the Houston Oilers, later the Tennessee Titans, and Lamar Hunt, the owner of the Dallas Texans, later the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
If you'd like to learn more about that kind of thing in the creation of the AFL, go listen to episode 8 of the podcast. We get a little bit more in depth, but these are the two best teams in the AFL.
And like you were saying, they are brand new almost teams as regards to like everybody else who was like kind of playing, but they're definitely filling that void of like not enough teams throughout America because it was a very East Coast driven
Oh, for
sport.
sure. And I mean, football in Texas.
Oh, it's
it's like Jesus, football, the Cowboy. Well, not so much the Cowboys anymore.
Not anymore.
But the Oilers, will get into them. Like I said, two-time defending AFL champions. Future Hall of Famer George Blanda as their quarterback and kicker. Overlooked by the NFL because there's only 12 teams when he came into the league. He basically flourished in the AFL, like with the ability to play every day.
Well, I feel like the Oilers were pass heavy for that time, and he actually worked really well into it and was also their kicker, which was very common in those days.
Oh, for
which
sure.
I actually love because you're like, Blanda missed that pass, and he's going to step up to kick. And you're like, God, that's awesome.
He's going to save the drive like Steve Spurrier.
Yep.
With those sweet, sweet sideburns. And all the mutants at Table 9, but over 2,800 passing yards, 27 tutties, 42 interceptions, which speaks to the rudimentary passing game and the AFL wanting to use it.
Yep.
I feel like Jameis Winston was like, wait, I didn't break the record? I didn't break the record? Come on, guys. He led the league in scoring and led the league in extra points. Had a very strong backfield with Charlie Tolar, who led the AFL in carries and had over 1,000 rushing yards. I don't know if you heard during the telecast, during the offseason, he was an oil well firefighter.
No, I didn't hear that. That's awesome.
We talked about in the last episode, like sometimes we mention men of their time. For the most part, where it's very derogatory, they don't make men like this anymore.
No.
He was like 5'6", too.
Yep.
It was crazy.
And they did, just like pretty much every single team back then, they pretty much did the split back, wing back, but he was their number one running back.
Yeah. I think he was like 5'6", 100. He was like a little bowling ball.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Billy Cannon, their other running back, was the 59 Heisman Trophy. He was one of the first big gets that the AFL was able to bring into the league as opposed to the NFL. He had over almost 500 rushing yards and over 400 receiving yards, and was their number one kick returner. Two great wide receivers. Charlie Hennigan was an All-Pro. And Willard Dewveall had, along with Bob McLeod, their tight end, almost 1,100 yards receiving. So great up front. And then the D was just as stacked with Ed Hussman up front with 10 sacks. He was their All-Pro. And they were second in points per game, second in yards per game, and first in turnovers, which I thought was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're going for a three-peat. They deserve to be there when in the AFL Eastern Division. And now we have the Dallas Texans, not Houston Texans.
That's right.
Which I may or may not screw up, but the Dallas Texans, coached by Hank Stram, and they're just an absolute force now after they've built they're as popular, if not more popular, than the Cowboys in Dallas at this point.
Yes,
because of how good they are.
I was just going to say they were a very popular team in, I feel like, a lot of places in Texas where for whatever reason maybe the Oilers weren't because they were so dominant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, you got the Dallas Texans coming in.
Quarterback Len Dawson, much like George Blanda, never got a shot in the NFL.
Nope.
Drafted by Pittsburgh, then made a stop in Cleveland. He barely played. This was his first actual AFL season. He led the AFL with a 61% completion percentage, 29 touchdowns, was an All-Pro. They had a really deep backfield, too. Abner Haynes, which we brought up in our Bobby Lane episode.
And we'll bring him up later because he almost kind of screwed them in overtime. Watching it's such an interesting thing now because they're so like scripted as to what to say. Like, this is what you're going to say with the coin toss. He really almost screw them over.
When you're talking about professional football's all-time bonehead plays, you might read about Abner Haynes in the but he had over 1,000 yards rushing that year, and over almost 600 receiving, which is ridiculous. Curtis McClinton, who was the AFL Rookie of the Year, was their fullback, and then you had Frank Jackson and Jack Spikes back there toting the rock for him. Frank Jackson. As far as receivers, you had Chris Burford. He had an AFL leading 12 touchdown catches. And Fred Urbanus was their tight end. He was another big get that they got from the NFL. Or not from the NFL, but like lured him away.
Yes, because NFL just didn't have that many spots where they were going to make more money coming and being a starter in Dallas or Houston or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Defensively, their linebackers are like the best in the AFL, led by E.J. Holub, Sherrell Hedrick, and Smokey Stover. Berman used to throw that out all the time for Matt Stover back in the day. And just ball hawks in the defensive backfield. One of their reserves had 7 interceptions. Probably a lot off Blanda, I'm just saying.
Yes, seriously, though.
But going into this game, as far as this is not only the battle for Texas, this is, are we just going to have a league where one team wins by the founder, like co-founder of the league?
No, seriously, though, because Houston won 2 in a row. They're coming back looking unbelievably good. So that's the thing that I feel like where you don't really think about it, where you're like, Houston was dominating this league.
Yeah.
And then you get a little Dallas in there, and we'll see how it goes.
A little Dallas. So on December 23rd, 1962, at Jeppesen Stadium in Houston, Texas, it's going to be a Festivus miracle for one of these teams, Chris. So the game is televised on ABC, and a lot of people speak to how this almost legitimized the AFL.
Yes.
Because they have a TV contract, you're playing it in football crazy Texas, and it's a big crowd.
Yes.
It's a big crowd to come and watch this game that's not an NFL championship game. I would have to think Lamar Hunt and Bud Adams were like, this is exactly what we wanted. We're hemorrhaging money, but it's exactly what we wanted.
But they're pretty much like throwing it in the NFL's face, being like, we're up there with you.
Yeah.
Not at the exact same level, but it's like, these are markets that are untapped.
Yeah. How are those Cowboys doing in 62? Not very good.
Not very good.
I don't even think Dandy Don Meredith is there. He might have been, but he was wearing some velveteen, not velvet.
Oof.
Because he knows the difference, Chris.
That's
he
true.
knows the difference. So kicking off, Dallas gets the ball first. Have a little bit of a drive going, but they have to punt. And when Houston gets the ball, they start on their own 44, and then everything kind of starts clicking on offense for them. They have a really impressive first drive. Big pass by Blanda to Hennigan to the Texans 32. And then Tolar and Cannon basically run them down inside the 10-yard line.
And you're really thinking, as a football fan, you're thinking like Oilers are about to score. Even if they don't score a touchdown, Blanda's going to kick one in. And that's not the case for this first drive because it really kind of, you see how good Dallas's defense is.
Yeah, so with 8:10 to go in the first quarter as they're driving down, Blanda's picked at the goal line by E.J. Holub. Like, I remember watching this going like, how the hell did they lose this game? And then progressively as I saw these drives going, I'm like, I know what's going to happen. So Holub has a huge return after picking it off at the goal line. And the Texans, the Texans start going to work.
Yes, I know, I know. Mixing up throwing and running, which a lot of people thought the Texans were going to try and stick with the run a lot more, but you see them just kind of going with what's working.
Yeah, so McClinton has a big run down to the Houston 45, and then Haynes on a pass gets him to the 37. McClinton picks up another 8, and then a huge they end up driving inside the inside the Houston 10-yard line.
There you go.
And unfortunately, they're stopped to a 4th and 3, and Tommy Brooker has to come out and drill. I love because this is when back in the day when the goalposts were on the goal line.
Oh, yes.
So it's not like where they're at the back of the end zone. So he kicked a 16-yard field goal to put them up 3-0.
Yep.
Houston on their next drive, they really can't on this next drive, they're really starting to put more plays together, especially with Tolar out of the backfield. And you're just like watching this and going, he's 5'6". Somebody tackle him.
He looked small in this game when guys aren't, big. 6'6", 300 pounds, but he still looked small. And I feel like Houston kept going back to the well of the throw, but they really should have stuck with the run more because throughout this game, we'll explain why.
Yeah, so there's a big pass by Blanda to Bob McLeod to the Dallas 40, but after that, they can't get anything going. They keep trying to pass.
Yes.
That's the crappy part.
Yep.
So they send Blanda out for a field goal.
But this one's pretty far. It's 47 yards.
Yeah.
So, and in that time, that was like almost unheard of.
You're not having Pat Summerall with a BAC of about 0.3 drilling it at Yankee Stadium.
Exactly.
So he missed the field goal wide left. And to the Texans' credit, they take advantage of the opportunity after the first quarter ends. There's a huge run by Jack Spikes down the sideline to the Houston 45. It was a 32-yard run.
Plus
the face mask.
mask. And I remember seeing, they were like, I don't know if that was a face mask. And then you see it, and you're like, he almost ripped his head off.
Yeah, oh, God.
Face masks back then were not like they are now.
We always talk about 90s concussions. That was a 60s face mask.
Dude, it's egregious.
So they're at the Houston 29.
Yep.
There's a scramble by Dawson for 1. And then Abner Haynes runs an awesome out route.
Yep, a little curl.
Yeah, just an awesome route. 28-yard touchdown catch. And it's 10-0 with 14:33 left to go in the second quarter. And you're thinking, upset could be brewing here.
I was just going to say, nobody saw this coming, especially with that first drive where the Oilers drive it down to the 4. And you're thinking oh, okay, this is what they do. And now it's middle of the second and Dallas is up 10-0.
Yeah.
And
they're doing a really good job of controlling the clock.
Yes.
And keeping Blanda and Houston's offense off the field. Houston on their next possession, they go 3 and out. I did not know their punter's name was Jim Norton.
I didn't know that either.
Had to look
I
up.
saw that.
I was just like, attaboy, Chip Chipperson.
Well, he was a punter, so you chip it out there.
Yeah, right? Like a 9-iron. So Dallas started at their own 31. Spikes ran for 3. Then Dawson had a nice scramble, and there was a late hit called, which the crowd didn't appreciate very much watching that. So they get them out to the Houston 44. Dawson has early in his career, he was a really good runner with the football. Not necessarily designed runs, but just kind of scrambling and mobility.
Yes.
And then what ends up happening, Spikes runs for 3, and they can't convert that drive into any points, which still you're up 10-0 and you've kept Houston somehow off the scoreboard.
Yes, exactly.
On Houston's next drive, Blanda does what he does all season long, and he's picked off by Dave Grayson.
Yep.
They're all pro cornerback.
And Grayson takes it all the way to the house.
No, not to
he
the
doesn't.
house.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, he has a pretty good return.
Oh, to the 29. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then with about 6:30 to go in the second quarter, Dallas tries bleeding the clock and using the running game, and they do a hell of a job with it. You have McClinton, and then Abner Haynes has a 24-yard touchdown run, which you're up 17-0, and you're not. I don't think they were even favored in this game.
No, they definitely weren't. I saw the Oilers were definitely the team that everybody thought was going to win. And looking at this right now, you're like, this is crazy. Like it really is. And like you were saying, Dallas really did a great job controlling the clock, keeping Blanda off the field, and converting their chances.
Oh, for sure. So when Houston gets the ball back, they're unable to score any points. Charlie Hennigan had a terrible game.
Yes.
This is one of the drives where he dropped like a really easy pass that would have kept the sticks moving, and it ends up screwing him. And then Dallas tries to mount a drive. They're moving the ball, but they're really screwed over. They screw themselves over with a 15-yard illegal hands to the face penalty. So it kind of takes them out of field goal range to try and add to the lead. But after this first half, they're up 17-0. And I don't know, did you see any of the halftime on that telecast?
No, I skipped it.
So they were awarding the league MVP.
Yeah, I read that. And the rookie of the year.
And they gave it to Len Dawson and Curtis McClinton. And the fans were booing them. They were just like booing the hell out of them. And Houston was getting booed as they were leaving the field, because I'm sure all those fans are like, we don't lose.
Yes. We're not like this. And this is a football time in football in which it's not a high scoring affair. So 17-0 is a huge lead.
It's like 28-3.
Yes.
But we're going to find out how it's 28-3 here. So Houston gets the ball first to start the second half. And for whatever reason, I don't know if their head coach Pop Ivy, went crazy on them at halftime, but the offense finally starts to click.
Yes.
With that double wing type of
With the double
formation.
wing, and I swear to God, Blanda just wasn't throwing interceptions.
Yeah.
That was, I remember thinking that in the third, where you're like, oh, I can see why this is working. He's not giving the ball away.
Wait, he's not helping the other team score points?
Yep.
Willard Dewveall, their second receiver, he actually had a great game as opposed to Hennigan in this one. Has a great catch to get to the Dallas 44. Tolar on the ground has a lot of really good runs on this drive. And then at the Texans 15, I don't know why Blanda threw this pass. There's like three guys on Dewveall. Touchdown.
I was going to say it didn't matter. It was, yeah, you're right, though. He was like definitely way covered and just got a 15-yard touchdown to make it 17-7. And now you start to think, you're like, oh, okay, this could work, because finally we're getting the Oilers offense is finally clicking.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. The following drive, Grayson is absolutely nailed on the kick return. Dallas is lucky enough to recover the football, but they can't get anything going on this drive due to a holding penalty.
Yep.
So when Houston gets the ball back, you're thinking, oh, my God, even a field goal puts you right back in the game, right? They get to a 3rd and 2 at the Texans 47, and Tolar is stuffed. He's absolutely – they lose a yard. Maybe if this was played now, they might have gone for it on 4th and 3 at about midfield, but they decide to punt, and Norton pins Dallas back at their own 5-yard line. So we get to 4:19 left in the third quarter, and Dallas tries to start mounting a drive here where they're running the football.
Pretty much exclusively.
Yeah.
Like it really is the control the clock, beat it down. We're going to give it to Haynes. Like it really is that.
So Spikes and McClinton get them out of their own territory, out of their own end zone. Dawson missed Spikes, though, on this drive. He ran a great corner route, and he just didn't get it. Hayes got a good 14-yard run, but Ed Culpepper sacks Dawson to essentially kill the drive.
Yeah.
And then Haynes fumbles. Ed Hussman recovers it at the Dallas 20, where you're like, oh, my God, they've got something cooking here.
Well, that's literally what the Oilers needed because they were killing the clock, and then you see you're like, oh, they have perfect field position now.
And what happens, Chris?
Our boy,
Georgie. I think you could take him, Georgie, on Festivus of all days.
oh, man. So this is the one where he gets the ball knocked loose, right?
No, he's picked off.
He picked off, okay.
By Johnny Robinson.
By Johnny, yes,
At
okay.
the goal line.
Yep.
Where you're just like, come the F on here. That's how many points you've left off the scoreboard?
That really is 2 touchdowns, or at least 2 points taken away right at the goal line.
Yeah, those could have been field goals, but Robinson returns it to the 37. Dallas is unable to get anything going on the following drive. Another Dawson sack.
Yep.
And then Houston starts at their own 43. Great pass to Dewveall down to the Texans 34. Hennigan drops another ball. That was his 3rd drop of the game. And with 12:55 left in the fourth quarter, Blanda finds McLeod down to the Dallas 16. In the next play, Blanda tries looking for McLeod again, and he almost alligator arms it because he was about to get lit up on that particular play. And then another, the deflection to Blanda. This is what we were talking about on this drive.
Yep.
And they end up losing 8 yards. Blanda tried to find Cannon on the next play, and he was in the end zone. If he catches it, it's a touchdown, but Robinson had knocked it free. And they send Blanda out on 4th and 18 to kick.
They just keep him out.
They're just, they don't even need to send him.
Yeah, he's already there. So he actually hits a 31-yard field goal to make it 17-10.
And all I thought of was Lunch Lady Doris. It's like, what are you doing here? I get 2 paychecks this way.
That's so good.
Oh, man. Dallas starts at their own 22, but there's a huge loss by Haynes, which sets him behind the sticks, and they end up going 3 and out. Now is when you're thinking the tide of the game is turned.
Yes, because it was 17-0. Now it's 17-10, and you could just see the Oilers really like clicking it together.
Yeah, you're wondering, where the hell was this in the first half?
Yes, exactly.
So they start at the Dallas 49. There's a big pass to Cannon down to the 34. They're faced with a 3rd and 7. They declined an illegal motion penalty with 7:10 left in the fourth quarter. And then Blanda completes a pass to Cannon for 21 yards down to the Dallas 10. And then he gets down to the 1-yard line, and they give the ball to Tolar, who scores.
They called him the human wrecking ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he literally was like...
The Miley Cyrus of the AFL? Is that it?
I was going to say pre-fridge, where they were just like, just go through them. You have one alley, and it's straight ahead.
He was the mini fridge just filled with Natty Light.
Oh, my God.
So we got 5:58 left to go in the fourth quarter. And, now you're thinking the game has changed because Grayson takes the kickoff out of his own end zone, which was not a good move.
No.
Absolutely blasted at the 15. They can't do anything with the football and have to punt. And Houston has this game in the fucking bag.
Well, this is something that I feel like doesn't get talked about is when a team decides they're like, we're running the ball, we're going to try and like get the clock on our side, and then they have to get out and do something else, and it's like, no, we're already set in this. And you can kind of see that at the end with Dallas, where they just weren't really able to get any offense going. You're right. Houston literally gets the ball in some great field position, and
we'll get into what happened because they moved the ball pretty good.
Yep.
McLeod they get it at the Dallas 41. Tolar loses 1 yard on first down. McLeod has an 8-yard catch, and then on a swing pass to Tolar, Blanda just misses him. It was just a bad pass. If he had caught that ball, they would have had a first down and kept the clock going. Now they send him out to attempt a 41-yard field goal. Not a good kicking day for him either. The wind is blowing, I should add right now, particularly towards one end zone. And he attempts a 41-yard field goal, and Grayson blocks it, which is a huge play for the Texans. Dallas starts at their own 41 with 3:10 left to go in the fourth quarter. There's a big pass to Fred Urbanus to get to the 50 with the 2-minute warning. McClinton runs for a first down. Haynes runs for 4, but it's negated. Against 4 on a pass, but it's negated because of an offsides illegal procedure. With 59 seconds at their own 49, Dawson is sacked, so they're completely out of field goal range with 3rd and 20. They end up having to play it safe because you're like, well, we don't want to get sacked again and maybe give them good field position or even fumble. So Haynes takes a loss on the run, and with 22 seconds, they have to punt the ball, and all Houston can do is throw up a bomb that doesn't even reach the end zone.
I was just going to say, the end of this game, especially with that blocked field goal, you can almost tell that it's going to go to overtime.
And much like the 58 championship game, which we described, this one goes to sudden death. I believe this is the only AFL championship game to go to sudden death.
And when it happened, it was the longest game of all time.
Oh,
At that point, obviously, because
I think it's still top 10 now.
Yeah.
Or at least I think maybe even still top 5. So we start overtime, and we get to the coin toss. And this is sudden death. This is, you only need one possession to score. So if you lose the coin toss and the other team even kicks a field goal, you don't get the ball back.
And Dallas wins the toss.
They do win the toss.
And then Haynes says something that is so stupid. He's their captain.
He is arguably, you could make the case for maybe Dawson or Holland. He is their most important player.
I would think so.
Yeah. This is what he does as a dual threat running back.
Yep.
And when they win the toss, what does Abner Haynes say to the official?
We'll kick it to the clock.
Oh.
Which is, they're going to kick it into the wind and not take it. It was such a sentence. Like you could tell he didn't want either of those things. They wanted to receive the ball and have the wind on their back, and he literally says the opposite of what he should have said. And it was just like, no, we're going to kick it into the wind and give them the ball.
All I could think of was, this is one of those commercials where I sure could go for a Miller High Life right about now.
Because it's really could have cost them the entire game on just misspeaking.
So if you're unfamiliar, when you win a coin toss, like at the beginning of a game or heading into overtime, the way that it works is you have 3 options. You can kick, you can receive, or you can choose to defend a goal. Those are the 3 options you have. If you say something first, that's what you've picked.
Yep.
If you say you're going to kick, the other team can decide, well, you've already established we're receiving the ball. Now we get to defend wherever the hell we want to defend. And you're really setting yourself up behind the 8 ball, Abner.
I gotta know, and we'll never know, but this is when I wish we had mics and TV cameras on the sideline. I can't imagine what he was like, what the guys on his team and his coach was telling him when he came to the sideline. Like, what do you mean we're kicking?
Yeah, right.
What do you mean we're kicking into the wind? It was everything.
At least if you receive the ball and you're forced to go into the wind, you have the fucking ball.
I know.
I was thinking, that was a bad move, Hank. So they're not only going into the wind, they have to give Houston the ball with the wind. They start at their own. Houston starts at their own 34, and there's a 9-yard pass to Dewveall, but Houston can't do anything on this possession.
No,
this
they really
crucial.
And you look at what won this game, and I do feel like it was Dallas's defense. When you see the stops, especially in overtime, where you're like, God, the Oilers could have had that one, and it really was Dallas's defense coming up.
How many handy J's do you think Abner Haynes gave the defense after this affair?
At least 4.
At least 4. So Dallas on their first possession can't do anything because you're going into the wind. It's not really going to work. But what happens is, because of this, their punter can't get anything on it. Houston starts, at their own 45 on the next drive with 11 minutes to go in the first overtime. Cannon gets one, Tolar gets another one, but Holub comes up with a huge play. He's an absolute stud, and Blanda throws an interception to Johnny Robinson again.
I was just going to say the highlights for me of this is literally the interceptions and just Dallas's defense.
Yeah.
Because I think he threw 3 interceptions this game or 4.
I think 4.
I think
it
4.
Was 4,
yeah.
Because don't worry, we've got another one to go.
Yes, I was just going to say, this isn't the last one.
I just had an off day, guys. Do you know what color they're wearing?
It's brutal.
So at 9:56 in the first overtime, well, giving it away, but he's picked off by Johnny Robinson, gets to the Houston 48. They have a couple of really crappy things happen on this drive, particularly a sack by Ed Hirschman, which essentially kills the drive, and Dallas is forced to punt. Luckily, because of where they start near midfield, the wind isn't going to fuck you up punting as much. So they pin Houston inside their own 20 at their own 11 with 6:55 to go. Dewveall moves the sticks with a big 11-yard catch to the Houston 25. And with 5.5 minutes, they try a little razzle-dazzle with a flea flicker that just doesn't end up very well. There is on this drive, they end up getting a first down and keep driving the ball like off of a Cannon catch for 5 and then a Hennigan catch basically behind him, making it up for him, getting him to midfield. And the rain's starting to come down at this point in overtime. There's a pass to McLeod down to the Texans 35, and you're thinking, okay, we've got the wind. Why not run it here?
Yeah. I 100% agree. I thought it was a weird play call to just you've been running the ball for like the entire second half. Just run the ball and kick a field goal.
You're at the 35, 3 plays. I know Dallas is probably sit and run, but you've got Mini Fridge, Billy Cannon. Run the damn ball.
Yes.
Jesus.
Especially and I hate especially with the Mini Fridge, which great new nickname.
Oh, man.
But especially with him because you're just going to pick up 1, 2, 3 yards, and that's all you need is to hold the ball and push it up like 8 yards to get a 30-yard field goal.
How many oil men do you think he encountered like Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood? I just hope when he scored, he yelled, "I'm finished!" So Bland
bring out a milkshake for him.
I have a straw, you see, that reaches 6 yards into the backfield. This is my son and partner, Billy Cannon. God damn it.
It's crazy how good you are at that one.
That's like up there with McConaughey, I would say.
Yeah,
like
with your impressions.
Yeah,
impressions.
I can't do very many, but the ones I could do
they're
well.
solid.
Yeah, they're solid. So Blanda throws a pass, and he's picked off by linebacker Bill Hull, who takes it to midfield, which is huge because there's a minute to go in the first overtime.
Yep.
So Dallas does the smart thing, and they run McClinton twice for a total of 3 yards, which eats the clock. And as we've described in our episode about the Saints and Rams playoff game, when you start a second overtime, there's no more coin tosses. You're just playing another period of football.
Yes, and it's like a halftime where you just switch possessions, switch ends, all that stuff that Dallas wanted to start with.
Yes, exactly. What was it? So there's a good thing by Haynes later, which he talks about as almost very silly. But so they're 3rd and 7, and then Jack Spikes has a huge catch down to the Houston 38. Then a swing pass, or it was a swing pass. Spikes then has a big run down to the Houston 19, and with basically what they're doing now is we have the wind. We're in field goal position. Unlike Houston, let's not screw this up.
It's such a weird. God, just the play calling feels like it's just not at the level that it should be.
Yeah. So essentially what happens is they're positioning the ball with McClinton and Spikes and then Dawson with a QB sneak to just say, where do you want the ball, Tommy Brooker?
Literally, like, well, I'll run to the side that you want the ball to be on, and we'll set you up. And they do.
Let's just leave the money on the doorstep and get the hell out of here. So like the filthy animal he is, Tommy Brooker comes in for a field goal of 25 yards and drills it for Dallas to win the game and the championship 20-17.
If you're Houston and you watch literally the series of plays right before the first overtime ended and been like, oh, we should have done that.
Yeah, right?
They probably, I can't even imagine what their thought was because they were like, that's what we should have done.
Like, yeah. Oh, man. Fuck.
Yes, exactly.
Like, why did we do this? What? After the second pick, I don't know why Blanda's even putting it up anymore. But
so Dallas, Kings of Texas.
What a way to go out, though.
I know.
What a way to leave town to, well, I did want to bring up as a postscript to this game, they move not because they're not popular in Dallas, but Hank Stram moves them to Kansas City because that is an untapped market of like 8 states.
Yep.
That you can put an AFL team there, and the NFL can't do shit about that. So it's a huge move for them, and they end up playing out the rest of the 60s by winning another AFL title in 66, winning the final AFL title in 1969, and later the Super Bowl. In fact, I did want to add, 2 times in the AFL's history, teams went for three-peats, and it was the Texans/Chiefs who stopped them both.
Yes.
In 66, they beat the Bills going for a three-peat to go to the first Super Bowl. Houston is not the same after this.
No, it's such a weird thing. I imagine being a Houston fan would have been such a shocker of losing this final game, and then they're like, and we're done.
Yeah.
Like pretty much.
They
played one more season there?
Well, no. The only chance they had at a league title the rest of the AFL was in 67, where they lost the championship to the Raiders to go to the second Super Bowl. And then they proceeded to not even win a division title until 1991.
Which is brutal.
Which, insane.
Yeah.
One thing about the telecast, I don't know if you had read anything about this. It was apparently the Northeast was experiencing like just some ridiculous snowstorm. And on this particular day, there were no other football games, like bowl games or anything else, being played on television. So ABC had this double overtime, crazy back and forth in the second half seesaw type of game. The AFL had it all to themselves.
Yep.
Which I think is huge. Because now you have the 2 best teams playing, thankfully, and you're introducing people to a league with stars on them.
And it was an unbelievably exciting game. So you're right. I feel like the Northeast was like, we should start playing with these guys, you know?
What? These were the guys we couldn't sign? God damn it.
Yes, exactly.
I'm sure people in Pittsburgh were like, Len Dawson, Abner Haynes, fucking Jack Spikes. Why did we do this? I know I certainly did while I was watching that.
Yeah.
Like, don't you think drunk Bobby Lane could have used their help? Maybe.
We don't know.
Well, I mean, he alienated everybody by it. You don't want to play in that league. Oh, you mean the one we're winning?
Yes. You know, the one where we're winning the championship?
The one where we could have helped you and not make your franchise a sorry, sad sack of shit. Oh,
Yep.
I'm sorry, Bobby Lane. But no, this was probably the greatest game ever played in the American Football League.
Yes.
And I think it's fitting, if you'll go back and listen to that last episode, that it was between these 2 teams. It was the 2 people who said, you know what? Let's start our own league.
I know. It really was the 2 guys being like, they're not going to let us in the NFL? Fine. We're going to start a different league.
Can I offer you an egg in these trying times? No, they pulled the Danny O'Shea and Little Giants. We're just start our own team.
Yep.
I didn't see the Icebox playing linebacker though.
Oh, that's true.
For him though. But anyway, Texans, Oilers. I got it right almost the whole time. Yes.